Hello, everyone. It's Wilken Asimentu here. I'm your host, and this is the Leadership Talks podcast, Black Excellence. And today I have Ousmane Diop. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Very excited to be part of this great interaction. I have been following you for quite a while now. And if I have a voice, I think this is the right platform.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for taking the time. I know it's after the working hours there in Nashville. So I truly appreciate that. And, it's a little bit late, but again, it's definitely important for us to come together and share our experiences in the hospitality. And, I invited you because I see you have plenty of experience here in the United States as well. So, bienvenue.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
So, Ousmane, tell us, when did you start your career here in the United States, and how is it going so far for you?
Oh, the best way I can say it is it's just the beginning of the journey. I came to the US in 1998, wanted to pursue further my education in agriculture. Believe it or not, I still have that dream to be a cowboy because I grew up watching Western movies, and I came to the US in 1998, wanted to study agriculture. I ended up in Seattle for a couple of months, then went to University of Tennessee. And while I was in college, I needed a job, and I walked in and started working as a banquet captain. That's how really everything started.
Wow, you already started on being a captain. Wow, excuse moi.
The, the secret was they did not tell me I had to haul in and haul out every day. We did not have actual venue. So that was the reason why I probably ended up having that title. But it taught me so much, from the leadership standpoint all the way to logistic management. And of course, you know how it is. If the food is warm, it's great. If it's cold, then you're in trouble. So
Absolutely. Believe me, I've done, I was a banquet server in Baltimore when I had also, that was my second job actually. I also had a front desk during the day. So I would go to the hotel in the morning, leave real quick at 3 o'clock to start another job at 4:30. And the good thing, because in Baltimore, when you work downtown, there's so many hotels. So I made sure to find one job really close to the other. So, I wouldn't have to take public transportation, which would take more time. But it's just the beginnings, right? So tell us now, what are you doing and how is your career going?
So since 1998, I can say I have, postulated any position you can imagine, from the front of the house all the way to back of the house, front office, running retail, all the way to where I started really holding a strong leadership position with a title, behind it. And that's after I graduated and I moved back to Seattle. I was able to walk into the Westin in downtown Seattle, 891 room, and I graduated with not debt and $400 to my name. And I said I needed a job right away. Walked in, was hired on the spot. And I met a gentleman that really saw my potential from day one. After he looked at my resume, knew my background, after having a good exchange in the lobby, and said, I cannot let you walk away from here because I feel that, we're going to benefit from you in many ways. And to this day, he's one person that I keep close to my heart. His name is Ronnie Rowland. He's one of the best director of security I never met. And he's solicited to this day all across the nation, not because of the knowledge that he has in that field, but his leadership style. I've learned a lot from him. At some point, I found myself really not being challenged, even though, I was managing a team of 70 employees, 2 union. I can tell you a lot about unions for sure. But after really making sure that, I excelled in all the challenges that were in place, and turning around, a couple of departments and make them very successful on the customer service side, I felt that, I was no longer challenged and I wasn't learning. And I decided to go independent. And again, here I am being put in a position where I had to learn. I was challenged, but I was hungry and I kept being hungry. That's one thing that never really, uh, I wasn't shy about saying that I didn't know. I wanted to learn. And whoever was my superior, I needed to learn as much that you knew. And that has been my drive to this day. Now I am getting into a different um, level of challenge because I am on a corporate level. I am seeing the hospitality world in a different way. And I think being at Cheval, still in operation and still being strategic more than anything else and not being reactional will benefit, hopefully, the company that I'm working for and people that I will have across my journey.
Absolutely. And I love the way you said, right? Like you talked about leadership, the leadership style, your mentor, right? That he believed in yourself, in you. And that was an inspiration for you and open your mind, right? And now even, managing 70 people, you were like, I wanted to be challenged now. And you're moving on to the next steps and learning, being hungry to learn more, right? So talk to me, Ousmane, as a Black man. This is Black Excellence Series. Have you encountered any challenges that you would like to share?
Oh, I think I have applauded about that. It, often, and this is a great question because it's tied to the previous question. Often you hear people getting motivated and being hungry and looking forward to excel, evolve, and grow by having mentor or having people to look up to. I more so than anything else excel when you tell me, no, you're not the right person. Through my career, I have met a couple of people that really were a roadblock to me. It was either fear for some reason, um, and I cannot really explain why you would have a fear if you had me in your team, but they did not want to see me excel. But they say kill with kindness, and I made sure that I kill with kindness. I excel in everything that I had committed myself into, not to prove them wrong, but to prove myself that there is nothing that can stop me from breaking the glass anytime the glass was wide above me. And he kept me going. And I always went back to those people and tell them thank you, because I see that the challenge that they have put in front of me kept me going and motivated me furthermore. I come from a culture where you were already born, and you were born and you were told that you are a king. I come from a family where both my parents not only, held very important position in their life, but they kept their integrity and they made sure they picked up value on anything that they were doing and everything that they committed themselves into, not to have some egocentric, but to be able to share and help more others. And now it's part of my motto. The more I pick up throughout my journey, the more I share. And the more I share, the more I go. And furthermore, educate myself, furthermore, experience and share the stories so people can believe that I'm just a human being that, go through a journey and they have their own journey to take to. Keep believing and keep going.
Amazing. Wow. So just kill them with kindness, right? And learn more and go back and be appreciative, right? Because that challenge didn't stop you and you made you succeed, right?
Absolutely.
So Ousmane, what country are you coming from?
It's called Senegal, the country of Teranga.
Dakar, beautiful beaches. Oh, I heard.
Beautiful people, beautiful food, everything you can really imagine. Yeah, Teranga has a dual meaning. It's all about family, all about parents. It's about the community. Just to do a parallelism, I remember growing up going to my grandma's, and we would travel as a family. And whenever I get there, since I was named after my grandpa, she would always sleep on the floor, and me sleeping in her bed. That's how much welcoming that she, and love she had for me. And that's what you see across, our culture. It is all about making sure that you welcome people. It's centered on caring, not on expectation. Even if you have a piece of candy, you make sure you crack it in two pieces and you share with whoever you are with. And that's our forte, that's our strength. There is the fact that people don't know much about Senegal in this part of the world because we're French-speaking countries, but you get to Dakar before you get to Paris. So I always welcome people to go and experience.
Allez, bon voyage au Dakar. C'est bon pour moi.
You are welcome anytime.
Oh, super. But I love this, right? Because we are here, besides, I'm from Brazil, as I've talked to you about it, to my background a little bit. But besides being an expat, right, we have this other for myself in Brazil, English is a second language, but nobody really speaks, And actually, for you, you are bilingual already, like, because you grow up learning both languages,
Yeah, school is hard in Senegal, and you go from one level to another. You have to compete. You have to take exam, and if you don't pass the exam, you don't go any further. By the time I came to the US, I was speaking already 3 foreign languages. I was fluent in Italian. I even had a free scholarship to go to Italy and study art, but I was not an art major. I was a science major, so I ended up just turning it down.
Wow, that's amazing. Parlare italiano con me allora.
Great. After 25 years, what do I remember? You have no.
I'm sure one week in Napoli, you're good to go.
Well, I have, a good leader that is, I'm looking forward to practice with, I would say, and I'm sure I'll pick it up.
And this is also brings me to another point here, the international markets, right? Because this is definitely the languages, and when we work with our associate level, employees, we have a mix of a melting pot of people from so many different cultures. How it has been for you as a leader, from banquets to corporate world now, communicating with these expats that are coming from all over the world here in the United States, and being able to communicate with them in their language.
I believe they're not given enough respect. And let me explain. In my career in hospitality, I have seen and been to many properties. I am yet to see a housekeeping team that is predominantly American born as a majority. It's foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We are, as foreigners, the backbone of hospitality in this country. We were never respected on that matter because most of the jobs are really not quote unquote great job or quote unquote job of high value and respect. But if you question every single one of those persons and ask them what their background is, you will see doctors, you will see engineers, you will see people that where they come from literally had a job and had a career and were living, if not above the average, but they were high class. But they left because either it was for religious reason, persecution, or economical reason, or political reason for the most part. But they are driven to learn because they adopted to become American, just like we did. We love this country in so many ways, but we don't want to lose where we come from. In order to adapt it, we need to learn the language. We were fortunate enough to learn English prior to coming here, but somebody who has been rooted from where they come from and tell them, now you're going to come to the US and you're going to work here, you're going to have a little bit of resistance, if not fear, to adapt to another language. Because if you lose your land and use your language, what happens? You no longer have identity. So some of them would have a tendency of not wanting to learn English or having the fear to learn it. But it's on us as we welcome them to create the environment so they can feel that it is not a way of taking what they have left that they can represent themselves to, but furthermore, to give them the baggage or the tool necessary to further and get better into what they engage and commit themselves into. I've been to properties where we would, for example, teach English to these employees that were coming in, because throughout my career, we work a lot with the refugees. So the comfort that you're creating within your work environment would allow them to actually open themselves and be willing to learn. And that communication, that bridge that you just created will do nothing but benefit you. On the long run, everybody will learn English. Everybody will be able to communicate with you. We're getting into furthermore challenge when now we're using some electronic all over the place. You're using iPad, you're using iPhone, and using all this application in housekeeping and the front desk in all the department. But if you don't speak English, it's already a problem. If you don't speak electronic language, it's another problem. And most of the time, it's English or Spanish. And we're starting to see the shift, because you see people coming from East Africa, people coming from Europe that don't speak English, or the common language that we see, and now having to face that. So what does it do? They actually limit themselves to just doing job where do not have to interact with guests. And we're losing by doing that. So we need to do better in order to create a better way of communicating with these employees and creating a platform where they feel they are welcome and they can benefit from us.
Well, je suis d'accord. And I totally agree with you, Ousmane. But also, what I've experienced myself in this field, because, besides doing banquets, I started also in housekeeping. And believe it or not, I was in Lake Placid, upstate New York. So the entire team was Americans, and everybody, I was the only foreign there. So I had this hard time because I wanted to learn English. I was so hungry and I wanted to speak with people. And I didn't understand, like the basics of the products, or, what you like. I never had used a vacuum cleaner before, because in Brazil, we don't even use that to clean places, at home. I just would use a broom and that's it, and a mop. But, it was learning curve for me. And then, Usman, I'm telling you, every time I saw a guest in the hallway, I would be like, I would light up, right? I'll be like, oh my gosh, hello, how are you? I'm Wilka, I'm from Brazil. Where are you from? That's all that I knew how to say. But, when people were talking to me, I was able to communicate a little bit and hear different, accents and different words. And I had a book and would make a note, and then I was like, oh, I had to learn this word, I had to learn this word. And then until, I repeated many times until I've actually learned. But, one thing that I encountered, I was working at the front desk on my internship here. I remember one time I had my colleague, she was from Thailand. And these women, she was a senator, whatever. We had a big, senator, group staying with us. And this lady, she screamed at my colleague, like, I'm asking for somebody to fix that TV. And then I just looked at my friend, the lady that worked with me from Thailand, and she like was saying, I'm sending engineer to you. I'm sending engineer to you. And the woman was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I was like, excuse me, and then I step up and I'm like, please, man, you don't need to scream at her. She's telling you that she's sending the engineer to your room. Is there anything else you need? Like really straightforward with this lady, because, she was basically, like screaming at this young woman. Like we were 19 years old, we were coming here to work and being learn like in the industry that we went to school for back in our countries. But like this woman, I remember this like vivid, in my mind, because for me, like you don't make this person feel any less than what she is, because you don't understand what she's trying to tell you. So,
I mean,
and that for me, that was a learning curve as well, that I learned that if somebody is trying to diminish me, myself, because of my learning, my English abilities, I'm like, no, that is going to stop right there. And that's when you have to really step up. But, many of us back in the day, I was like, I remember another scenario, same hotel. I was like, oh, I don't know. The lady was saying, do you have a comb? Do you have a comb? I'm like, I'm sorry, man, but I don't know what that means. Hold on one second. So I, went and asked somebody else, and they're like, yeah, this is a comb. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this was. And I was like, yes, man, I have, and then I gave it to the lady. She was like, oh, no worries. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm from Brazil, I'm trying to learn here. But, often, as like you said, there is Spanish speaking associates, at the housekeeping level. I experienced that when I worked in California, and they were a lot of Mexicans. So I wasn't used to the Mexican dialogue, right? Dialect. And I learned, and I learned because I was like, I'm going to be working with you guys, I'm doing this sales stuff here, but I need your help, because I can only, have these groups coming here if you can, come to work and be on my side as well, like when I need some early check-in, like help me out. So it was always something so like the connection that I was able to make with them because I spoke a little bit of Spanish. It blew my mind, like I had these ladies on my side, and that's how, I think I appreciate very much being in a bigger city, right? Like, I'm in Washington, D.C. I've been to California, but, is that the same, where you are in your experience it has been so far?
I mean, it's you touched on to that. It's all about the environment. If I make the parallelism, when I came to the US, I went to University of Tennessee at Martin, the small campus. I remember being asked if I had lions in our backyard.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm the lion. How about that?
But I had to go to in order to educate people that actually come from a city where people are educated. It's a modern way of life and so forth and so on. So it's all about the environment. Then at that point, you make a choice. Do you actually extract yourself and go where you feel that you fit right? Or you actually make yourself an ambassador and say, you know what, I'm going to help these people understand that the horizon is as far as you want to see. And you can learn so much without even having to move. And I organized, for example, the International Student Association, where we were fighting to actually have our rights. We were paying out-of-state tuition, not having as an Asian to have your name changed so you can have quote unquote American name, and those things ended up opening their eyes to, the leaders in campus to the point where cultural integration was something that was important. The diversification was important. The fraternity and sororities were another challenge. And as a foreigner, I helped building bridge in order to have a better campus, in order, to have, people understanding and sit down and have at least an exchange. The religious knowledge that I had prior to coming to the US was very limited. I came here and I was like, wow, I didn't know they had black church and white church. Didn't know that they have so many different denominations. And anytime I was meeting somebody, I was like, Ousmane, I want you to come to my church. And whenever I go there, I was seeing something that I never knew was existing. But nobody really sat down around the table and say, hey, what do you believe on? What are the similarities? Where do we pivot from that point? And I organized the biggest debate, religious debate, and invited the whole city so we can sit down and just in all transparency talk about it. So everybody can be educated. And they worked away, wanted more. And I said, well, now I'll show you the way. It's on you to do it because it takes a lot of my time. I just wanted to let you know that you have to open a window and that window can end up being a door. I mean, my parents traveled. My dad came back always changed. I think the biggest impact was him living in Japan. And that's how I picked up the omotenashi, which is probably the most challenging level of hospitality you can ever imagine, because the Japanese are so perfectionist. And I carry that with the teranga in order to create my balance. And everywhere I go, I'm a student and I learn.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful words, Ousmane. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom here as an expat, as a Black man in the United States, working in this beautiful industry that we both love, the hospitality industry. So truly appreciate your time today. Any final words?
I am Black, but I'm human before anything. And like we say, cogito ergo sum, as long you're thinking, you know, you exist. So just exist with your brain before anything else.
Amazing. Thank you again. And thank you everyone for listening. This is the Leadership Talks podcast, Black Excellence series. Have a great day.